Welcome to Presentation Skills for the JSON Professional Development courses. Today, I'll be giving some tips for putting together an effective presentation, including how to frame your content, create impactful slide visuals with CoPilot, and deliver your information with confidence. Before you even start putting your presentation together, it is crucial to have a clear objective so your message feels focused. Generally, your presentation's purpose will fall into one of these three categories: to inspire or motivate a group of people, to inform a group of people on a given topic, or to persuade people to take action or see your point of view. For this assignment, you are meant to present your findings to the class as if you are company leaders trying to recruit new students. And as a company representative, your purpose is to convince the audience that your company is a great place to work, and you should keep this goal in mind as you frame the content of your presentation. For each individual part of your group presentation, you want to make sure your content is convincing and engaging. Some things to keep in mind are to organize your content into clear sections or points. If you're unsure of how to start organizing your ideas, look at the bulleted list of content requirements in your assignment instructions and start by dedicating one slide to each of those bullet points. Then, once you have a good feel for the flow of your presentation, you can combine or separate sections further if it makes sense to do so. You also want to make sure your points are well supported by credible sources. If your goal is to recruit students to your amazing company, a lot of your supporting evidence will be specific examples of opportunities, initiatives, resources, and benefits that your company has to offer. Lastly, you want to make sure you have smooth transitions between sections to maintain the flow of your content. Some ways to do this are summarizing key points before moving to the next section, or clearly signaling the end of one section and the beginning of another. At the end of your presentation, you want to summarize all of your key points and highlight or reiterate your most important takeaways. Then you want to end with a closing statement that leaves your audience with something to think about. This can be a call to action, a specific goal in mind for your audience, or a key takeaway from the information you shared. Basically, you want to give the audience an idea of what they should do with the information they just learned from you. Once you have your content good to go, then you can work on the fun part, the aesthetics of your presentation. As you design your slides, it's important to remember that the slides are for the audience, not for the speaker. And your audience is not going to be engaged in your presentation if they have to read a bunch of text and listen to you speak at the same time. For this assignment, your slides should only feature images, graphical elements, or title slides that serve as visual backdrops for the information you present. To figure out what would make a good slide visual, take the section of text that would usually make up your bullet points or paragraphs and cut sentences, phrases, or words out until you are left with only the main idea or key words that the audience needs to remember. Then ask yourself, is this something tangible that I can show in an image? Is this information that requires some kind of visualization? Or does this main idea speak for itself? Then you can use images, graphs, and/or title slides accordingly. As a UT Dallas student, you have access to the full Microsoft 365 suite. And with these tools, you can use CoPilot to create graphics without leaving PowerPoint by using the CoPilot button in the upper right-hand corner of your PowerPoint application. To create visual aids that complement your speech, you can paste the section you want to make a graphic for into CoPilot and tell it what kind of graphic you want to make, like a matrix, pyramid, or flowchart, and then it will generate a nice graphic that you can replace your large block of text with. Then, once you get your graphic, you can customize it by prompting CoPilot to change the color scheme, font, or style of the graphic to fit the theme of your presentation. If you want an exact color match, you can even upload a screenshot or image of the color you want along with the prompt. Once you get your graphic to look how you want it, you can hover over your graphic in CoPilot and click the Insert button to insert the image directly into your slide. Then, once you have your presentation all put together, it's time to really learn your part. It will be very difficult, if not impossible, to deliver a convincing presentation if you do not know your information backwards and forwards. So these are some strategies you can use to help you memorize your content. Try dividing your presentation into smaller, manageable parts. Working with shorter sections keeps the process from feeling overwhelming and helps you remember the flow more easily. It also naturally builds more structure into your presentation. It can also be helpful to draft a script that follows the order of your presentation. This doesn't have to be long or detailed, Bullet points work just fine, but having something written out gives you a reference point and makes it easier to commit your content to memory. Repetition is also an effective way to remember your key ideas. Go over your main points several times, say them out loud, write them down, or do both. Repeating the information over time makes it much easier to remember when you're actually presenting it. Lastly, if you're someone who enjoys learning through audiobooks or podcasts, you can try recording yourself rehearsing your part and listening to the recording while you're doing your everyday tasks like commuting or cleaning. Hearing your own words repeatedly can help reinforce that material in your brain. Finally, after all your preparation, you then, of course, have to deliver the presentation to your audience, and you want to do so in an engaging way. Think about the last time you sat through an engaging professional presentation from a company representative or a campus recruiter, and try to remember how enthusiastic and convincing they were when they were telling you about how great their company, their product, or their school was. That's the kind of energy you want to give off as you present your information. To accomplish this, you need to be intentional with your body language. This means maintaining eye contact with your audience and directing your focus to each part of the room during your presentation, while also using open, controlled gestures to emphasize points and reinforce your speech. Do your best to avoid tiny, nervous movements or crossing your arms, and instead go for bold, purposeful gestures at appropriate times. You also want to vary your pace, pitch, and volume throughout your presentation to keep your speech engaging and avoid sounding monotone. For example, try raising your voice when you emphasize a key message, or pausing when you deliver an important point to help your presence come across as more influential, persuasive, and commanding. Lastly, you want to dress for success. Remember to leave the t-shirts, shorts, and sandals at home and show up in business casual on presentation day. You can refer to e-learning for examples of acceptable attire. With all of that in mind, remember that most people are not perfect public speakers right off the bat, and it takes a lot of practice to build that confidence. The more you rehearse your presentation ahead of time, the better it will be when it's time for the real thing. Some rehearsal strategies you can try are timing your presentation. This can help you see if your content is too short or too long, and it can also make sure you are consistent with your timing each time you present. Recording your presentation is also good practice because listening back to yourself can help you catch things that you would not notice in the moment, such as tone, pitch, pacing, and filler words. Many people unknowingly overuse filler words such as like or and if you make yourself aware of your go-to filler words, you can work to avoid using those in the future. Another resource you have access to through the Microsoft 365 suite is Speaker Coach, which you can use by going to the slideshow tab of PowerPoint and selecting Rehearse with a Coach. This tool will give you on-screen guidance about pacing, filler words, and whether you're reading the text straight from the slide. Whenever you finish presenting, Speaker Coach will create a report that summarizes what it observed and offer you some tips to improve. While Speaker Coach is great for independent practice at home, the best thing you could do to prepare to present in front of people is to present in front of people. So come give a mock presentation at the Business Communication Center to receive feedback from one of our coaches. You can schedule an appointment at the Business Communication Center by visiting our website, bcc.utdallas.edu, or by scanning the QR code on the bottom left corner of the screen, and one of our coaches will be happy to assist you at any stage of the process, whether you're in the brainstorming stage, crafting your slides, or polishing up the final product. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of luck as you put these skills into practice for your company research presentation.